Why can Rolex actually sell a watch for thousands of dollars versus, Casio just charging 20 bucks for kind of the same thing? Well, what really goes into this is not what you might think, and it might even shock you. I'm going to show you the psychology that they're using in this very video and how you can apply it to charge more for kind of doing the same thing and actually get less sales resistance too. In fact, I'm also going to reveal the 3 secrets that I used to build my very first business so lucrative it allowed me to travel the world, make my first million, and these same 3 secrets that I actually used to build a second business, making me 3 to 5 million every single year, to prove that it just wasn't a one-hit wonder, but it's actually replicable. And the crazy thing is though, these 3 secrets work even if you've never sold anything before, even if you're completely new to this, but especially if you're already offering coaching, consulting, or service providing, and you're looking to attract more high quality clients that happily pay you $1,000 to $5,000 each. Now, out of my own experience working with thousands of people over the last 11 years, there's 2 kinds of clients out there. Maybe you can resonate with one of them. Let's pay attention here. Client A asks for discounts, is super hard to sell to. It's always an uphill battle to get them to sign up. They have unrealistic expectations, they never really execute, and they constantly blame you when they're not getting results. Client B pays in full without discussion, instantly sees the value in everything you tell them, they execute, they're happy, they leave you glaring reviews, aka the typical Rolex customer, right? Now, if you want the fastest way to get rich, fix rich people's problems. This is really key for you to understand because quote unquote rich people value everybody else's time because their own time is very valuable. They value hard work because that's how most of them got rich in the first place, aka they're the perfect client. And this is easier than you might actually think, focusing on rich people's problems. You don't need to be rich or personally know rich people in order to know what problems they have. If you really think about it, every group of people that you could potentially sell your coaching or service to has a subsection of people that make more than $50,000 a year. These folks can and happily pay you $2,000 plus if you're the one who specifically fixes their kinds of problems. For example, if you're selling fitness coaching, fix rich people fitness problems, which is probably usually they're short on time, they don't want to go to the gym all the time, they want to go to their favorite restaurants. Like Vinicius, for example, this is a person we've worked with before. He does weight loss coaching for high performers in a sedentary lifestyle. So you can see here the focus on the subsection, right? If you're offering dating coaching, fix rich people dating problems. So instead of saying, I help you with your dating life, you say, hey, I help you find a high quality, sophisticated partner that supports you on your career and your business journey and isn't just a gold digger. So you can see here, rich people's problems. Like the Anson brothers, for example, they focused on career-driven divorced men, right? Selling $12,000 per client. So that's pretty decent compared to other dating coaches out there that are, whatever, paying $500 for some cheap guy that barely wants to execute anything. But Max, what if in my niche, rich people's problems are kind of the same as everyone else's problems? And yeah, in some niches, you cannot distinguish rich people's problems from regular people's problems. For example, a client of mine named Jason, he's in the music production niche, right? His rich people subsection just kind of wants the same thing that everyone else wants, just get better at producing music, right? But there's actually another way to attract that rich people crowd as well. So stick with me here because we're going from one story into another, like kind of like Inception here.
Deeper and deeper, I wanted to go further.
I remember one of my first clients named Sasha was a lawyer, and he was one of my first clients in my first business, which was dating personal development advice. And he literally pulled me aside once and he says, Max, love your coaching. It's really great, but I have so many lawyer friends who would never take you seriously because your prices are too low. If you want to teach more people like me, charge higher prices because with those prices, nobody's gonna see the value in it. So what you need to realize here watching this is your price defines your worth, not the other way around. So what we did with Jason, for example, was exactly that. I knew that what he teaches is undoubtedly very, very valuable for his clients. And in order for us to reflect that, we just charged higher prices. More specifically, instead of charging $100 an hour, we charged $3,000 per client and connected it to an end result. right? That end result was produce your first high quality song that can be posted on SoundCloud. So instead of charging per hour, low price, we picked a desirable end result and we charged a high price. So we kind of use the price here as a primary indicator of how valuable, how legit this coaching offer is. Right? I mean, think about it. You buy a Rolex, would you buy one for $200 and think it's legit? Right? This one here actually was my first Rolex. I bought it after I made, I think, $3 to $5 million a year or something like that. This little thing cost $12,500 when we bought it. We just walked in. Back in the days when we could just walk in and buy Rolexes. So would you buy this if it was $200? It would be too cheap. Therefore, it can't be good, is what you would think, right? Now, here's the problem, though. Everyone understands that charging high prices is better for their offer, but most coaches are kind of intimidated by that, right? They try to start small and then work themselves up, which only leads them to getting stuck in this like endless loop of shitty low quality clients and imposter syndrome, because they're like, well, I'm working with these low level clients, they don't execute, they're unhappy, they're a pain in the A, and I just feel like I'm not good enough to charge the higher prices. Of course you don't feel good enough to charge high prices and attract high quality customers because you've never done it, right? I feel not good enough to win the surf open either because I don't surf, never surfed. But I'm sure if I surfed for half a year and literally get my feet wet, I would probably feel better at it and I would start getting out of my imposter syndrome and get better at what I do. So instead, you need to charge high prices right away, or at least as soon as possible after a couple test clients. Yes, it might feel uncomfortable at first. Maybe you'll feel a little bit of pressure to deliver to these high ticket clients, even though you're newer to the game, right? But you know, a little pressure never hurt nobody, right? It turns coal into diamonds, so however they say it. That's how Rolex does it, right? Like they just charge higher prices and therefore people want to buy them? Not quite, at least not only. There's actually one more psychological trigger that Rolex has taken advantage of that you can't miss. I'll never forget how my first mentor actually forced me to buy my first Rolex, the one I showed you earlier, because he said it would help with marketing. I'm like, what would help? If I wear a Rolex, what does that mean? Like, how would that help with marketing? Now, at first I didn't quite understand the psychology behind it, but then I remembered a quote by one of my first mentors that I read books from, Seth Godin. He once said, people don't buy goods and services, they buy relations, they buy stories and magic. That means you don't sell a watch, or in this case, the coaching or the service that you're offering, you sell the result behind the result. Right, so the Rolex result of a watch is you wear something expensive that shows you the time, right? But the result behind the result is you buy social status. People know that you're making money. You are getting a feeling of superiority, maybe even. If you're doing relationship coaching, the result is a happy relationship, right? But the result behind the result is harmony every day. Feeling of being wanted by your partner, a stable home for your kids. Right? So the better you can talk about the results behind the result in your content, in your sales calls, the more your audience will feel like you get them, right? And the more they will resonate with you and the more they will buy from you. And the way to practice that, by the way, there's a great exercise, I call it follow the trail of why. So for example, you say, well, I don't know, I'm a programming coach, right? I teach people programming. Why is it important for someone to learn programming? That's the result, right? But why is it important? The end result behind the end result is, well, they have a skill and they want to use it to make money. Therefore, they're using the skill of programming in their career. Well, why do they want that? Well, because they want to be able to live a good life and maybe support their family. Well, why do they want that? Because they have a sense of responsibility. Why do they have that? And so on and so forth. You follow the trail of whys. If you're a dating coach, just to stay with that example, I know a lot of dating coaching folks out there. Well, I help men find a dream partner. Why is it important for them? Well, because otherwise they feel lonely. Why do they otherwise feel lonely? Because we're evolutionarily trimmed to have a dream partner, and so on and so forth. So you can follow the trail of whys with every pain point, with every reasoning that you could come up with, and you could literally make a list of that and then keep hammering that out in your content and in your calls whenever you're talking to people that could potentially buy from you. So you combine that, number one, psychology, with number two, fixing the problems of the rich segment in your audience, and number three, defining your coaching or services value with high prices, and you'll have the keys to the castle of making 6 to 7 figures a year, even if this is your first business. It was my first business. My first business ended up making me my first million, and then ended up making me 3 to 5 million every single year. So now that I gave you the Jedi or the Sith powers, you can choose what side that you're on. This video right here actually shows you step by step how to crack any level of revenue plateau that you're at with your online coaching business. Go watch that and enjoy.